receiver of revenue statements, Garissa County Investments Development Authority, Garissa County Emergency Fund, Garissa County Revolving Fund, Garissa County Government of Garissa County Revenue Fund, and then the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Kilifi Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme Fund for the year ended 30th June 2020, report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Kilifi County Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme Fund for the year ended 30th June 2021, and lastly, the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Kilifi County Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme Fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay.
The Honorable Senator Catherine Muma.
Mr. Speaker, I'm tabling on behalf of Senator Catherine Muma. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, Thursday, the 29th of February 2024. This is a report of the 147th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings held in Luanda, Angola, on 23rd to 27th of October 2023. I thank you.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate. Today, 29th February 2024, report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on its consideration of the County Government Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 25 of 2023. There's supposed to be two. Where's the other one? Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, 29th February 2024. The report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on its consideration of the County Assembly Service Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 34 of 2023.
Next order, Clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Senator Catherine Muma, now that Majority Leader, you've laid that report on the table, you may proceed to give notice on the same.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, which is a report of the 147th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings held in Luanda, Angola, on the 23rd to the 27th of October 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, that the Senate notes the report of the 147th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings held in Luanda, Angola, on 23rd to 27th October 2023, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 29th February 2024. I thank you.
Honorable Senator Katuri Murungi.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That the Senate notes the report of the 63rd session of the OACPS Parliamentary Assembly and 43rd session of the ACP-EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly meetings in Brussels, Belgium, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 6th December 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order, Clerk.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Statements pursuant to Standing Order 53-1, the Honorable Mohamed Chute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My statement is a request for statement on expenditure of funds in Marsabit County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant
Order,
to...
Senator Sifuna, Senator Eddy, and Senator Ledama. You may proceed to consult, but keep it on the law. Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget regarding expenditure of funds in Marsabit County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, table the total budget allocation for the county government of Marsabit for the financial years 2021, 2022, 2022-2023, and 23 to 2024, including a breakdown of development and recurrent expenditure, detailing various expenditure categories including salaries and wages, infrastructure projects, social services, administrative expenses, and any other significant expenditures for both the executive and the county assembly. Number 2, provide details of any budget alterations, including over expenditure or under expenditure compared to the budget allocation during the said financial years, and outline any supplementary budgets enacted by the county government since the year 2021 to date, including the reason for their implementation. And finally, number 3, table a comprehensive status report of all projects initiated by the county government of Marsabit from the financial year 2021 to financial year 2022 to date. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
The Majority Leader. Statements pursuant to Standing Order 57-1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order number 57-1, I hereby present to the Senate the business of the House for the week commencing Tuesday, the 5th of March, 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, there are 34 bills at the second reading stage and 4 at the committee of the whole stage. 2 of these bills at the second reading stage have been listed for division in today's order paper at order number 12 and 13. I request our party whips to mobilize the requisite number of county delegations for the divisions to be undertaken. At orders number 13 and number 14 and 15 in our order paper today are 2 motions for the consideration and adoption of reports of select committee on the county public investments and special funds have also been listed. I request Honorable Speaker to give these motions priority and order of proceedings for today to facilitate expeditious conclusion on them. I request our honorable senators to remain in the chamber during debate in this motion so that we can conclude on them before the rise of the House today. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regards to petitions, a total of 22 petitions are pending conclusion by the respective standing committees. The summary of the committees that are yet to conclude the petitions is as follows. Standing Committee on Agriculture, I see Senator Murango is here, the chair of the committee. You have 2 petitions that are due for reporting. Standing Committee on Education, Senator Nyutu, the chair, was here a few minutes ago. He has 2 petitions. Standing Committee on Energy, the chair, I forget who it is, but they have 1 petition. Senator Sifuna, you're a member of this particular committee. You have a petition that is due for reporting. Standing Committee on Finance and Budget, 1 petition. Standing Committee on Health, 1. Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources, they have 8 petitions. That's a committee of Senator Methu, who I don't see in the House today, but I believe there are many members of that committee. They have 8 petitions that are due for reporting. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge members of this committee to do justice to the petitioners that have come before their committee by concluding on these 8 petitions. Mr. Speaker, Standing Committee on National Security, there are quite a number of their members that are here. I don't see Senator Cheptumo, but they have 4 petitions due for reporting, Mr. Speaker. And when I say due for reporting, I mean they have overshot the statutory 60-day period within which committees are supposed to report to the House, Mr. Speaker. The Committee on Roads and Transportation and Housing, they have 2 petitions, and the Committee on Trade and Industrialization. See Senator Seki, their chair is here. They have one. In total, there are 22 petitions, Mr. Speaker. I request these committees to conclude on these petitions within the shortest time period and table their reports so that Kenyans can continue to have the faith and trust that they do in this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, at the SPC meeting held on Tuesday, the 27th, 2024, the committee approved the next set of questions for reply on Wednesday, 6th of March, 2024. The summary of these questions and the CSs to appear on that day as follows. Question number 10 by Senator Professor Ojenda to the Minister in charge of Transport with regards to road accidents involving tractors and transporting sugarcane in Kisumu County. Question number 11 by Senator Cherargei, MP, the Cabinet Secretary of Roads and Transport on the financial performance of Kenya Airways. Question number 12 by Senator Samson Cherargei to the CS for Roads and Transport on the status of the ongoing projects and expansion of Kerenga Airstrip in Kericho Town. Question number 13 by Senator Samson Cherargei on the status of roads and transport on the status of roads and construction projects in Nandi County. Question number 14 by Senator Enoch Wambua to the CS for roads and transport on compensation arising from the construction of the Kibwezi, Athi, Mutomo, Kitui, Miwani Road. Question number 15 by Senator Wambua with regards to an airstrip in Kitui, by Senator Kathuri Murungi with regards to pending bills on the Kura and Kena. Question number 21 by Senator Sifuna to the CS for Treasury on economic planning by failure by e-citizen to process payments made to some government institutions. Question number 25 by Senator Jones Murango to the CS for Gender, Culture and Arts on the establishment of county libraries. Mr. Speaker, I hope that we can conclude on these questions. You do note that this week, though we had only 2 cabinet ministers, they took quite a long time because of the interest, of course, Mr. Speaker, from the members. Though not a bad thing, but it will present a challenge, Mr. Speaker, with regards to planning. In conclusion, on Monday, the 4th of March 2024, the Senate will hold a one-day non-residential retreat to plan for the 3rd session. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this event in facilitating the effective discharge of our constitutional mandate. I take this opportunity to urge all honorable senators to purpose to attend this event. This is a communication, Mr. Speaker, that you gave earlier in the week. And while you gave it, the House wasn't as full as expected. Perhaps we can request the Office of the Clerk to table that notice and send reminders to members. Because this is an extremely important event, Mr. Speaker, which I do hope that as Senate we can use and take the opportunity to address various issues that are of urgent nature with regards to our performance as a House, Mr. Speaker, and how we can achieve better for the people of Kenya that pay dearly to have this House up and running, Mr. Speaker. There are many domestic internal issues also within us as colleagues, which I believe this will provide the proper platform, Mr. Speaker, a more formal setting than even a Kamkunji, for us to address and resolve these issues and come up with ways where we can run the House better. Mr. Speaker, I therefore wish to request that members find time to attend this. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hereby lay the statement on the table of the Senate. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 8, the Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 53 of 2023, first reading, a bill for an act of parliament to amend the Cooperative Societies Act and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 9, the Early Childhood Education Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 54 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Early Childhood Education Act and for connected purposes.
Honorable Senators, whose phone is that? Whose phone is it? We don't need to seek the services of the Sergeant at Arms to locate that phone. Very well. Proceed, clerk.
Order number 10, the fire...
Order, senators. Senator Boni, you're louder than your phone. You've just been cautioned. Proceed, clerk.
Order number 10, the Fire and Rescue Services Professionals Bill, Senate Bills number 55 of 2023, first reading, an Act of Parliament to provide for the establishment, administration, powers and functions of the Fire and Rescue Services Professionals Board, to provide for the examination, training, registration and licensing of fire and rescue services professionals and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 11, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 1 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an Act of Parliament to amend the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act to exempt cathinosic and cathine substances found in the miraa crop from being classified as psychotropic substances and for connected purposes.
Now, honorable senators, at that juncture, allow me to invoke Standing Order 45-2 of course, for the convenience of the House, to rearrange the sequence here of today's order paper. Instead of proceeding with 12 and 13, we move So, honorable senators, instead of moving to prosecute order number 12 and 13, we will straight away move and proceed with order number 14, which is a motion that was adjourned, whose debate was adjourned yesterday. Clerk, kindly proceed to call that order. What is your intervention? Certainly, it cannot be a point of order, unless you're saying the chair is disorderly.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, it could as well mean that there is something that needs to be orderly. I want to request, Mr. Speaker, that to indulge you, understanding order number 45, now that you've rearranged the order paper, that in the course of debate, should the whip signal to us that they have now the requisite number to execute the orders that we have skipped, allow us to pause the debate, we do division, and then return back to the motion on the floor. Kindly, Mr. Speaker, if you can indulge us.
Very well, Majority Leader. So, before Clerk, proceed to call the order, please.
Order number 14, motion, report of the Select Committee on County Public Investments and Special Funds on non-remittance of pension deductions to the pension schemes by county government entities.
So at the adjournment of this motion yesterday, the Honorable Professor Tom Ojenda was on his feet with a balance of 3 minutes. He is not present, so we will go by the names on my dashboard. Senator Manzo Daniel. Clerk, can I have the list of those who contributed yesterday so that we don't have them talk today? Senator Manzo is not in. Senator Cheranke.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I want to support this motion by the County Public Investment Committee. Mr. Speaker, I remember in the last session, we were not able to look at special funds and other like county education fund, emergency funds, water fund, Mr. Speaker, and I think it is very important that we need to, I want to thank, because in the last session, Mr. Speaker, before you came on board and other members of the Senate who are in that session, we used only to combine both public, county public, it was called County Public Accounts and Investment Committee. And I remember, Mr. Speaker, since I've served the longest in county public accounts and public investment, Mr. Speaker, we could not look at those, the issue of water companies, the issue of county emergency funds, like special funds, like education fund, emergency fund. Mr. Speaker, is important. My colleague senators should know that most county governments and governors misuse and abuse the emergency fund, Mr. Speaker. If today you call the water or the emergency funds that is meant for disaster preparedness, for example, no county still has the money. And I know, for example, Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, on the special funds when Embakasi tragedy happened, I bet you there was no money that could be used to address, Mr. Speaker, that challenge that occurred then at Embakasi gas explosion, Mr. Speaker. The issue of revenue water, Mr. Speaker, and revenue water and water companies, Mr. Speaker, can you believe, and I don't know, you know, under Article 43 of the Constitution, and also water amendment that I saw my colleagues when we wanted to do a PPP, the biggest challenge, Mr. Speaker, is access to clean and safe water. But can you believe, Mr. Speaker, most of the companies, water companies, are technically insolvent. A number of them, Mr. Speaker, especially in counties. The liabilities that most of these counties, Mr. Speaker, is still a big challenge, Mr. Speaker. And most of these companies, and that is why we were wondering, should waterworks and waterworks, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order, Senator Karungo?
Mr. Speaker, I think my good friend is lost. The report we are supposed to be discussing is about the remittance of pensions to the counties. The county owe pension companies or entities. He's talking about water companies, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chirange, relevance as a rule in this House must be upheld.
Okay, I will be relevant.
And as you build your case,
yes,
just get to know you have 5 minutes.
okay.
If you intend to use the 5 minutes to build your case,
Yes.
then you may not be able to make any progress.
Mr. Speaker, I thought the rules of debate, it depends on how a debater wants to debate so long as they are relevant. Mr. Speaker, I was building the case. I wish my colleagues who just joined this House should be learning very fast. I was just comparing that before we had county public accounts and county public investment, we have divided. And I was just trying to build the case, Mr. Speaker, because even I remember, because I have served in Labour, we used to talk about the non-remittance of funds through LAP fund and LAP trust, Mr. Speaker. And I hope as we go, Senator, the chairperson of public investment is here, Mr. Speaker. We must ensure that any funds, now that people have understood the difference between CPIC and CPAC, Mr. Speaker, let me get to point number 2. And this non-remittance should be a criminal offense, Mr. Speaker. Because and I want to challenge EACC and DCI, we have made far-reaching recommendations that anybody who does not remit the statutory deductions, Mr. Speaker, to the necessary, be it LAP fund and LAP trust, Mr. Speaker, they should face prosecution. It should not be a business as usual, Mr. Speaker, because it looks like the county governments and county governors want to abuse and misuse everything that they are being given, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to challenge and agree that I don't know, Mr. Speaker, in another quick succession, whether we should combine both LAP fund and LAP trust, Mr. Speaker, because they almost have similar duties, Mr. Speaker, so that we have LAP trust. I don't know whether yourself, as a former governor, you remit to LAP trust or LAP fund, but we need to relook, Mr. Speaker, so that, because I remember, I'm saying this with the insight, that last time, there was a fight between Lab Trust and Lab Fund, Mr. Speaker. I don't know, I don't want to say what used to go around when Senator Sakaja was the chair and I was in Labour Committee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to agree that counties must ensure the funds they use is transparent, Mr. Speaker. For example, Mr. Speaker, today, and I want to call upon counties, for example, today, Mr. Speaker, I was with the women rep, women rep of Garissa, Mheshimiwa Amina, Mr. Speaker. And she was telling me a story. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, just 30 seconds. He was telling me a story that women in Garissa are being sexually exploited in county hospital facilities, Mr. Speaker, which is very unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to support this motion, and I hope the chair will note the changes.
Senator Maruma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this motion, very important motion, on non-remittance of pension deductions to the pension schemes by county government entities. It should not be lost that, Mr. Speaker, in this House, I had requested for a statement from the Committee of Finance and Budget about non-remittance of these statutory deductions. I would like, first of all, to thank the committee headed by Senator Otsosi, who are doing a very good job, and to say that the non-remittance of these statutory deductions has far-reaching implications. Apart from remittance of deductions to pension schemes, the statutory deductions are not remitted to all the other statutory bodies like NHIF, NSSF, and so on. And Mr. Speaker, this has led to a lot of suffering. For example, when county governments deduct money supposed to be for NHIF, and they don't remit this money to the NHIF, then the workers, Mr. Speaker, do not get medication when they are sick, and this has led to a lot of suffering, Mr. Speaker. Non-remittance to pension schemes, Mr. Speaker, has led to people who go home after serving diligently to governments. It has caused a lot of suffering, Mr. Speaker. We have very many people in the villages, Mr. Speaker, who have retired, but they cannot access their pension funds, be it through Lab Trust or Lab Fund, Mr. Speaker. So what I would urge, Mr. Speaker, the committee is to follow through, and this Senate, the recommendations of the Senate, so that the counties which are culpable, action can be taken against them, so that the workers who are suffering, who are not able to access their money for retirement or as retirement benefits, can benefit, Mr. Speaker. So we would be following through the recommendations of this committee, and we need to work, Mr. Speaker, as a Senate, so that these governors who are culprits and the government entities where there is non-remittance, Mr. Speaker, the organization's heads can be called to this Senate and face the committee of the whole, Mr. Speaker, so that they can explain why the monies that were deducted, Mr. Speaker, and were meant for the pension funds were not remitted, Mr. Speaker. Sometimes, Mr. Speaker, some of this money is not remitted because of under collection of revenue, so that this non-remittance of funds is as a result of pending bills. Mr. Speaker, so what we need to do, we need to have the entities digitize their systems so that the agencies of county governments can meet their targets. Because if they don't meet their targets, then at times we find that they are not able to meet their budgets, and when the budgets are not met, then these deductions become pending bills. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very important report for the Senate, and what we need to do is then to follow up on the recommendations so that the many people who have retired and cannot access their retirement benefits, Mr. Speaker, can be able to access the retirement benefits. And I'm very thankful to this Senate for having to divide the formerly county public investments and County Public Accounts and Investment Fund into two. I would even recommend further, Mr. Speaker, that we divide further these two committees so that we can look at more government agencies so that, Mr. Speaker, we can have more work done. In the last parliament, I used to sit in CPAC, and there was very little work that was done. But now, because of that division, we have more work being done. So if we can be able to even move ahead and divide the committees into maybe 5 committees, we'll have more work and more effective oversight being done in this Senate. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support the report, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Seki.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to support this motion on the issue of non-remittance of pensions by county governments to these pension schemes. Honorable Speaker, I really wonder why counties are unable to remit these monies to the pension schemes, having in mind that it is a contributory. These issues are 12% to the individuals, deductions, the money that are deducted to individuals' employees, and 15% by the employer. I'm really wondering why they are unable to remit these deductions, having in mind that these monies are employees, much of the money is employees' contributions. This means that these monies, or the employees are given less their salaries. It is money that we really need to ask county governments, particularly governors, to explain. And the reason why Mheshimiwa for Taita Taveta was talking about, we need to bring these governors to the committee of the whole to give us reasons as to why they are not able to remit this money. Honorable Speaker, you remember very well that
I'm not updated with my
the retirees and those who have also retired are expecting these monies to get their pensions from these schemes. And this means these are people over 60, 70 years. Others are even getting from their own families. Others have even died. So we really need to understand why county governments are killing devolution by not remitting money that belongs to the employees and to those people who have already retired. So for this motion coming to the Senate at this time, it's quite in order, and we want to know what the county governments are doing to reduce such kind of pending bills, because these are pending bills that are not supposed to be there. These are budgeted money, and the control of budget at any given time is supposed to show, or even is given requisitions by county governments in regards to personnel emolument. So this means there is a diversion of priorities when money goes to the counties. So I think this is also another issue we want to ask and put the control of budget on task as to why these pending bills in regards to employees is realized in county governments. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to support this motion and thank the Committee on County Public Investments and for Special Funds for bringing up this inquiry and this motion to the Senate. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Majaya.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, kwanza nataka kumpatia kongole aliyekuwa mwenyekiti wa kamati hii ambayo iliketi kuandika hii taarifa ama ripoti ya kutoweza kupeleka hizi pesa ambazo zinakatwa wafanyikazi katika
Order, honorable senators.
Katika zile pension funds ama mahali ambapo hizi pesa za watu walioweza kustaafu ama watastaafu baadaye huwa zinaweza kuegezwa. Bwana Spika, kitu cha kwanza, ukosefu wa kulipa haya mapato ya uzeeni, yani pension fund, watu wanapofanya kazi katika miaka yao waliofanya na hatimaye kuweza kuweka kitita cha pesa ambacho walikuwa wanakatwa kila mwezi, ni makosa ama ni ukiukaji wa sheria. Bwana Spika, tumeona ya kwamba wafanyikazi wengi wanaofanya kazi katika serikali ama wanaofanya kazi katika county governments, tumeona wengi wao wamekuwa wakikatwa katika hizi kampuni mbili, either lap trust ama lap fund. Malipo haya, Bwana Spika, yana mipangilio yao. Watu wanapofanya kazi ni kwamba wakati akiwa ameretire anaweza kuchukua pesa zake na zikaweza kumsaidia. Bwana Spika, tunaona ya kwamba hivi sasa.
Honorable senators, may the minority leader be heard in silence, please.
Kwa hivi sasa tunaona ya kwamba wale wanaokwenda katika retirement, hizi pesa ambazo zinatakana ziwasaidie, ambazo zinakatwa kutoka kwa mishahara yao wakati wakiwa na nguvu, wakati wakiwa bado ni vijana, wanafanya kazi kwa bidii na kuweza kuweka hizi pesa zao mwishowe wakiwa katika ile miaka ambayo inaelekea mwisho, inaonekana ya kwamba hizi pesa hawawezi kuzifikia. Imeleta hasara kubwa katika familia nyingi katika Kenya. Katika Kenya tunaona kuna familia ambazo wazee ambao wamesomesha watoto wao, hawa watoto sasa wamekuwa watu wazima, wanatakana waende university, wanatakana waende maskuli, wao wenyewe wanatakana kujikimu, kujinunulia dawa ama katika uzee wao kuweza kuishi maisha mazuri. Tunaona ya kwamba sasa wanafanya kazi na hizi pesa imekuwa kama ni wizi, kwa sababu sasa ikiwa mimi pesa zangu niliziweka katika shirika fulani, kama ni lap trust ama ni lap fund, na akaunti yangu ile nilifanyia kazi atakana iwe pesa zangu waliziweka sawa sawa na wakazituma kule, hawakuzituma, wale hawawezi kunipatia hizo pesa. Sasa imekuwa mimi siko kule kwa pension fund, wala pia vile siko katika kazi. Bwana Spika, tunaona ya kwamba wafanyikazi wengi wanapata tabu na wengi wanakufa mapema kwa sababu pesa zao hawawezi kuzifikia, na hali wanakufa na dhiki ya kwamba pesa zao ziko na hawawezi kuzifikia na mtu amekuwa mgonjwa. Bwana Spika, hili tunaona ni kosa kubwa sana, na hatua lazima hivi sasa hii ripoti ikamilishwe kulingana na vile ambavyo wamerecommend. Nafikiria ingekuwa jambo zuri sisi tukifuata zile recommendations zote ambazo hii kamati ambayo ndugu yangu Sotsi amekuwa kama mwenyekiti na wameandika hii wakisema ya kwamba hii ndio taratibu ya njia tunaweza kufanya kuifuata na kuona ya kwamba wale waliokuwa wakifanya kazi na hivi sasa wako nyumbani kuweza kutumia hayo hizo savings zao ama hizo pesa waliziweka wakati wakiwa wazee. Bwana Spika, cha umuhimu ni kwamba wale ambao hivi sasa wako katika majukumu haya, na hususan wale magavana ambao hivi sasa wako kwenye viti, ni umuhimu ya kuona ya kwamba hizi pesa ambazo ziko hivi sasa ni pesa kama bilioni 80. Bilioni 80 si pesa kidogo, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, bilioni 80, na ukiangalia ni watu wangapi hivi sasa ambao wamestaafu wako katika Kenya nzima, wametapakaa katika Kenya nzima, na hivyo wanaishi katika maisha ya uchochole, ni kwamba hizi pesa bilioni 80 hazijapelekwa katika account zao ili waweze kuzifikia na ziweze kuwasaidia. Wengi wao wakiwa hivi sasa wamekuwa katika siku zao za mwisho hatuwezi kusema siku zao za mwisho kuishi katika ulimwengu, lakini wamekaribia upande ule wa mwisho, ni kwamba ingekuwa vyema kuona kwamba hatua mwafaka imechukuliwa. Na wameweza kurecommend ni hatua gani ichukuliwe ili kuona kwamba wamepata hizo pesa zao. Sisi tunaona kama bunge la Senate ingekuwa muhimu ikiwa hatua hiyo ichukuliwe mara moja ili serikali za county ziweze kupeleka hizi pesa. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Bone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious national problem. I remember the case in Marinya of Mzee Mudi Magoi from Bukusi village. Mr. Speaker, this is a man who never missed a weekend coming to my home to remind me about his pension. He's a guy who had spent all his productive years working for Kenya Railways, and his pension never came to him. Mr. Speaker, that was under the case of the defunct local authorities, which, according to the statistics from NSSF, the defunct local authorities, they owe NSSF 1.8 billion shillings. And the current devolved governments, they owe NSSF 2.7 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, on the word of the Kenya Union of County Governments officials, they are owed from unremitted amounts a whooping 41.2 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, these are people who are in their 70s. They are helpless. Even if they were to stand in a village barasa, nobody wants to listen to them. So they need this Senate for the Senate to advance their case, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, so that we don't miss it, it is very unfortunate that the cash transfer to the aged members of the society is working. And some of those people never did anything in terms of formal employment for the country. But the people who actually did formal employment and made their own contribution, governors are today enjoying that money, making trips to go to I don't know where, to go to South Africa, to buy flashy vehicles, and all manner of the wrong things, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we must stamp our foot down.